Hey, everyone. Hey, folks.
Good evening.
Good to see everyone. We have a smallish group this evening. We're expecting a couple more, but I'm just grateful that if you have a chance to make sure you have your name so people can see where you're from, sorry, who you are. And we'll take a minute just to get settled into our Zoom room. I'm grateful for your participation this evening. Tonight, we're having a special Season of Creation Town Hall hosted by Canadian Shield Regional Council, that's me, and with special guests, Simon Blakely, who is a program manager with reThink Green, otherwise known as Green Economy North, who is, and we're going to describe a little bit more about reThink Green in a little while. We're also joined by a special speaker, and that's Judy Sumner, and she is a layperson from Trinity Capriel. So she's going to be sharing Trinity's experience of their efforts to make their building more environmentally sustainable. So welcome, everyone. And perhaps we've got such a small group. I'm thinking maybe if we have a chance, we could just, oh, and there's Susan is coming in. We just have a moment maybe just to introduce ourselves, where we're from, and maybe very briefly why we're here. And I can start. So when I start, I'll say hello and introduce myself, and then I'll pick another person to introduce themselves. Okay, and then that person can pick another person, so we all have a chance. So my name is Melody Duncanson Hales. I am the Canadian Shield Regional Council Minister in support to communities of faith, which is a big term for many, many things. And one of those things is supporting congregations in their stewardship efforts and in their property maintenance. So these situations come together very nicely as we celebrate Season of Creation and as we encourage congregations to make good choices with their resources. Tonight I am in my oldest son's bedroom because he is away at university now. So now I can be in here, and I made sure there is no cat in this room, and the cat is not going to crawl up into the ceiling and surprise us halfway through. It has been known to happen. So I'm grateful for that. And so again, welcome everyone. And I'm going to choose George to introduce himself.
Hi, Cuz.
Hi.
Melody and I discovered some time ago that we think we have a family connection. We're both have family from Manitoulin Island. And it happens that we have common names in our history. My name's George Bott, and I'm from Marathon, Ontario. There are some faces here that I recognize. Hi, Sue Ivany. Long time no see.
Yeah, hi, George.
I'm a licensed lay worship leader at St. John's United Church in Marathon, Ontario. And I've been very actively involved in the church in just about every court that's available, and still am. I put my little sign up just as a reminder that one of the projects we're currently working on right now is the United in Worship project to support communities of faith that are without ministry personnel. And so we provide a complete worship service every week available to any church that wants it in Canada. Right now, I'm like Melody. I have a room all to my own in the basement behind the furnace. So this is one of two studios that we have in our home for producing video and connecting to forums like this. And I decided to join tonight because when I saw the title, I was curious. And so, I'm going to go along that way. Simon, tell us about you.
Yes, hi everybody. So I'm going to be talking more about kind of professionally what we do as an organization. So maybe I'll tell you a bit about myself personally. So yeah, I'm Simon Blakely, the program director for reThink Green. As you might hear, I'm a newcomer to Canada. I've been here about 6-7 years now. I met my wife, who is from North Bay, Ontario, which is where I live. And Yep, somebody's Cindy. You're next now, Cindy. So yeah, and it's what a beautiful part of the world we live in. So with that, I'll hand over to Cindy.
I'm Cindy Brownlee. I'm from Trinity United Church in North Bay. I'm also happy to be in my son's bedroom, who has moved away, and have my own dedicated space for meetings as well. I've been involved with Trinity United Church for a very long time. I'm presently chair of the board, and reThink Green sounds very interesting, and I'm just keen to learn more. And I pick Alex.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Cindy. I'm Alex Miller. I am a new intern at reThink Green, so still learning the ropes. I am joining you from Montreal, Quebec, so a bit further away than all of you, but I've been working remotely so far on my computer, so lots of Zooms just like this, and it's a pleasure to meet you all. I'm gonna pass it to Diane.
Hey, I'm Diane Trollope. I'm at St. Andrews in Sudbury, downtown. Retired minister and ECE teacher, and I'm on the stewardship committee at St. Andrews, and I'm always interested in green because it ain't easy being green sometimes, and I think people are catching on that it's a must now. And so it's anything you can sort of find that is going to help that direction is really good. So thank you for those who have Judy and Simon and Melody for making sure this happened. Pam.
Hi there. I am Pam Brown, and I am the student minister at Trinity United Church in Cape Real. I am here, number one, to support Judy in the endeavor tonight. I think we called each other, as well as Cindy, we called each other so we would wear green tonight, just to keep with the theme. But I am a huge supporter of all things green. My kid is an environmental biologist out west, and I cannot get away from it. It is, it's my responsibility. So I'm here to cheer on what we can do. So that's me. I'm going to pick Judy. Sorry about that. A little late to the party there.
I'm Judy Sumner from Trinity United Church in Cape Real, and I am really happy to be here. I'm a great supporter of Mother Earth and trying to help her stay intact. I love this part of the country. I just love living here, and I'm kind of the unofficial green team at Trinity United Church, and I have people that help. But anyway, I keep hammering away at it, and we're getting there. And I pick Rebecca.
Thanks, Judy. I'm Rebecca Daynard. I'm the Executive Director at reThink Green. So I'm just excited to be here with the rest of my team to share a bit about us and our programs. We've been doing work in churches, I think, since 2016, Melody. It's been a few years. We are the official representative for Faith in the Common Good and Green Sacred Spaces. So we've done some of those programs and connections there. So yeah, I'm just really looking forward to meeting some new people and sharing some of our new programs, and yeah, hopefully to help you out in all of your green endeavors. So, and I will pass it to, find someone who's not. How about Gordon Roberts?
Hi, everybody. I'm Gordon Roberts. I'm a retired United Church minister living here in North Bay. I chair the property resource team for the region. I'm here to answer any questions, and I'm also here to keep my ears open and my mouth shut. I pick Sue.
Me? Did you say Sue?
Sue Ivany.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm Sue and I'm from Thunder Bay. I'm the ministry personnel at Westminster United Church. And coming up on October 1st, it'll be 20 years that I've been there, which is, it doesn't seem that long at all. But anyway, 20 years. So I'm here tonight because 2 years ago, in 2019, we dove into the season of creation, all of us together, dove right into it and began a committee, a sustainability committee at our church. And then we carried that through into Advent and created an earth-centered candle lighting liturgy for the season of Advent. And we were just really kind of getting going. And then March 2020 hit and we kind of stalled. So I'm looking for ways to get us going again and get that same excited energy around different things that we can do. So that's why I'm here. So Susan, how are you tonight?
I'm well. I'm Susan Peverly. I'm the minister for Onaping Falls Pastoral Church, which is on the kind of northwest edge of Sudbury, part of the city of Greater Sudbury, but kind of out there. Let's see. I survived the Red Squirrel Road protest. Those of you who might be old enough to remember Red Squirrel Road. I survived the Adams Mine garbage pit fiasco, for those of you who are old enough to remember that. I'm trying, well, one of the reasons I came on because, well, I didn't have enough to do this week. I just don't have enough on my schedule, so I figured I'd throw in one more thing, like, yeah, right. I really feel there are ways that we can make our lives and our churches more green conscious. And I'm trying to get it through that, you know, a whole bunch of little things can add up to a really big thing. And actually, one of the things I've done this year, in a way, it might not be good for the environment because I now have a Chromebook with a rechargeable battery that needed to be mined to get the battery stuff. But I'm reducing the amount of paper I use every week by using my Chromebook for services rather than printing out the bulletin and not the bulletin, rather than printing out my service and having like 10 sheets of paper every week. So I'm really interested to see ways other congregations or ways that we can reduce the impact we have, the negative impact that we have on our planet. And that's me. And I think Mary Alice is left.
So I was a little bit late getting here. I was in another meeting. But anyway, so you just want to know why I'm here. Just see what else I can find out about greening and whatnot. I'm a member of the Trinity United in Mindemoya. I'm the treasurer and have been for a long time. So I tend to think in terms of money when it comes to the church. So.
Smart lady. It's a good angle at times. So yeah, so again, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for sharing. I do want to acknowledge Susan Whitehead, who is also with us this evening. Susan is my beloved colleague, and she's doing a video. Hi everyone, there's Susan. And Susan is managing the technology this evening so that I can be calm and I'm not going to be stressing out when it comes to some of our breakout conversations. So with that, Susan, would you mind putting up the slideshow just so that we can cover the points that, just so people are prepared for what we're going to be chatting about this evening. So here's our lovely cover page. And tonight we are discussing how the region, how the United Church of Canada, and how folks like reThink Green can help support your congregation's sustainability, environmental sustainability. So just a note, the resources that I'm using for the devotion this evening are rooted in Season of Creation resources. And so I just wanted to highlight that there are some really lovely, beautiful liturgical resources that are available to us through the United Church of Canada, through Kairos, and through the Season of Creation, which is a global liturgical movement marking the Sundays in September up to Worldwide Communion Sunday as a liturgical season of creation. So I'll be highlighting some of that in our short devotional. Then I'm going to turn things over to Simon, who's going to be describing the work of reThink Green as the Northern Ontario arm of Faith in the Common Good, also known as Greening Sacred Spaces. So there's a few names to these nonprofits, but they do the work of connecting churches with some of the practical tools that are needed to engage environmental sustainability, in particular around property. And then we'll invite Judy to share her experience as being a lay leader at Trinity in Capreol, and maybe share a little bit about some of the exciting work that you're just beginning to start with. So exciting. We do have some questions for you to engage in, so we're going to turn it over to the rest of the group for you to have your 2 cents, and we'll come back. And if you have questions for Judy or for Simon or for myself, that's a great time to ask those questions and to share some of your own experiences. I do have some references to some further resources that I'd really encourage you to take a look at. And we'll close in a prayer. I'm hoping that that we should be finished probably close to 8:30. But of course, if people get excited, I'm not going to stop you from talking about this stuff. So with that, please feel free to, as you're paying attention, if there's background noise, to make sure you're muted. If you need to take care of yourself, please do that. And just know that there's going to be a time for breakout groups. And I'm not quite sure how we'll divide that up, but we'll aim for probably 3 or 4 groups in that breakout time. So just as a note as well, this session is being recorded. We hope to have this available for folks on the Canadian Shield regional webpage, so that if there are other interested people in your congregation and they just haven't had a chance to join in this evening, they'll have an ability to connect with some of the things that we're talking about tonight. And I also believe we're going to try, and Susan, this is Whitehead, this is a little bit of a heads up. I think our friends from reThink Green would also like to have the video recording of this so that they can share it with their network, because of course they don't just work with the United Church of Canada, they work with many other churches ecumenically. So we're hoping that other churches will, and other denominations will start these and be part of these conversations as well. So Susan, if you can bring us to our gathering slide, the next slide, which is our acknowledgement of traditional territory. And this evening, I want to acknowledge the Indigenous people, especially in particular as we're approaching the National Day, the very first National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, as we're acknowledging the harm that has been caused through residential school and the theft of culture and genocide that has occurred. We do want to acknowledge the truth that we are living on Mother Earth, and we are living in lands that we are occupying, that are part of traditional territories of many different Indigenous peoples. And as we heard in our introductions, we are coming from quite a span of Northern Ontario, and perhaps you know the traditional territory upon which you are situated this evening. If you do know that traditional territory, I invite you to take a moment now and acknowledge that in the chat box. I want to say that tonight I'm joining you from the traditional territory of the Atikameksheng Anishinaabe. And in all of this, we give thanks for their stewardship of the land, for their connection with the land, and we pray for the ability to move into right relationship with one another. Our worship this evening is centered on this truth. Creation is our first and final cathedral. Nature is the one song of praise that never stops singing. And so, even as you're muted, I invite you to join with me in this call to worship that was actually written by a colleague of mine in philanthropy and stewardship. Autumn leaves, autumn sky, autumn sun. God endows us with change. Autumn leaves, autumn sky, autumn sun. God endows us with beauty. Autumn leaves, autumn sky, autumn sun. God endows us with light and warmth. Autumn leaves, autumn sky, autumn sun. We rejoice and give thanks for God's abundance. Won't you pray with me? Holy One, we give you thanks for this time this evening to center on your presence, to open ourselves to you. You are the artist of the changing skies. You are the creator of earth's deep secrets. Lively Christ, you were born to walk with us. Spirit of life, you are always moving in and among us. You surround us here and everywhere. Your purpose directs the cosmos in its dance. Your imagination engages us every step of the way. Teach us to see and hear your power in the wind and the waves, in the mountains and the valleys, so that we may glorify your goodness to us and live rightly in your creation. In this time together, may we be attuned to how we can serve you. May our imaginations be opened to the future you create. And may we seek your guidance and your grace. Amen. And I'd like us to consider these words from Richard Wagamese. And this is from his book, Embers, One Ojibwe's Meditation. And I think it's important, an important reflection. It's a very short reflection, but very, very important, especially as we consider how we are supporting one another in our sustainability. Richard writes, I've been considering the phrase all my relations for some time now. It's hugely important. It's our saving grace in the end. It points to the truth that we are all related, that we are all connected, that we all belong to each other. The most important word is all. Not just those who look like me, sing like me, dance like me, speak like me, pray like me, or behave like me. All my relations. That means every person, just as it means every rock, mineral, blade of grass, and creature. We live because everything else does. So I'd like to invite Simon to share his introduction, his work with us with reThink Green. Thank you, Simon.
Okay, you can hear me okay, everybody?
Yep.
So it's a pleasure to join you today. So thank you for having us. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge my presence today within the traditional territory of the Nipissing First Nation Anishinaabe peoples. As a newcomer and settler within Canada, I'm grateful for the opportunity to present from these Indigenous lands in the beautiful city of North Bay. As was mentioned, my name is Simon Blakely, and I am the Program Director for reThink Green. Next slide, please. Susan, changing the slide. No? Can I change the slide? Okay, there we go. Okay, so some of you will already be familiar, but others may be asking, what is reThink Green? So reThink Green is a not-for-profit environmental programs incubator. We're based here in Northern Ontario. We offer a variety of programs and services that are designed to help businesses, organizations, and communities become more sustainable. As an organization, we recognize the opportunities that exist for Northern Ontario's communities to demonstrate leadership on climate change in ways that uphold Indigenous rights and traditional knowledge, while also supporting the integration and inclusion of all people within the emerging low carbon. Some of you may be asking, why am I here today to speak with you? So they're saying about the mic, maybe I'll try and turn the volume on. Is that any better? Okay, I'll try and talk
I think
a bit
if you
louder.
just keep the mic right in your mouth, right at your
Okay.
mouth. Yeah, thank
So as community leaders and members of faith and the common good, it's important we all take the necessary steps to live by the green rule, which is summarized as being to do unto the earth as you would have it do unto you. Our aim today is to encourage you to take action, plus outline how reThink Green supports its members through the process of mitigating, adapting, and preparing for the effects of climate change. Next slide, please. And in the face of a rapidly changing climate, the need for people, organizations, and congregations across our region to take action through environmental stewardship and demonstrate their leadership by pursuing a path to sustainability has never been greater. There is no longer just a moral imperative and an environmental need, but a clear economic incentive to protect and restore our planet. The cost of inaction in the years to come will far outweigh the costs of acting now. We know the cost of operating church buildings continues to rise, and with faith communities facing tight budgets, some are lacking the knowledge, skills, and capacity required to bring about that change. In today's presentation, we hope to outline ways that reThink can help mitigate the risks associated with rising energy costs and introduce capital investments which enhance your environmental performance for the good of the environment and future generations. Next, please. Green Economy North was established in 2016. It remains Northern Ontario's only membership-based sustainable business program. We equip businesses, not-for-profits, and the broader public sector with the knowledge, information, and tools they need to pivot and succeed in the green economy. Green Economy North offers affordable and tailored support to help businesses set and meet their sustainability targets. We deliver technical, advisory, and research-based programming. We organize and deliver business and community-oriented events. We encourage knowledge sharing and collaboration among our virtual networks and recognize and celebrate the progress made by our members. We produce estimates of our members' annual greenhouse gas emissions, support the development of action plans to both reduce the impact on the environment and achieve cost savings. Next slide, please. So Green Economy North serves as a hub within the wider Green Economy Canada network. Together, these hubs serve communities and regions across Canada, and our reach currently extends from Edmonton to New Brunswick and from London to Ottawa. Through this wider network, our hubs continue to share best practices, case studies, and other information to support members as they make progress with their sustainability goals. Next slide, please. To date, the Green Economy Canada network has engaged up 300 businesses, set more than 70 targets, and secured commitments to reduce more than 200,000 tonnes of greenhouse gases. Together, we're demonstrating that a more sustainable economy is possible. Next slide, please.
I'm sorry, Simon, we're having a real challenge hearing you. So I don't know if there's, yeah.
Is that better without the
Yes.
headset?
Yes.
Apologies for that. I'll turn this off as well. All right, so as a designated hub, Green Economy North is responsible for guiding Northern Ontario-based businesses through the milestone process. By keeping our fingers on the pulse, We are equipped to share up-to-date knowledge, information, and resources among the network as a whole. Starting in January 2022, we're introducing a cohort-based approach whereby businesses and organizations will benefit from a series of collaborative opportunities to learn from each other as they set about developing and achieving their greenhouse gas emission reductions. In the next few slides, I'll provide an overview of the steps involved at each stage of the milestone process. Next slide, please. Milestone 1 is get engaged. At this stage, members are oriented at our kickoff meeting and get to know the network. We talk about data, emission sources, and take the necessary first steps. We also bring in guest speakers to share industry-specific examples, plus attend other stakeholder-led conferences, workshops, and seminars, and summarize our findings with members at large. Next slide, please. Milestone 2 is measure your footprint. We conduct baseline energy walkthroughs and produce the GHG emissions inventory reports using our impact tracking tool. Members share their utility bills. This information is referenced to understand where there is additional room for improvement. Recommendations are communicated with our members. Next slide, please. Milestone 3 is set a target. Once our members can see their impact, they are encouraged to demonstrate leadership and offered support, mobilizing their green teams, outlining their greenhouse gas emission reduction goals and the pathways involved, creating those action plans and setting those ambitious targets. Next slide, please. Milestone 4 is achieve results. So we recognize our members' success through media releases, social media shout outs, case studies, and celebrate individual achievements at our annual Sustainability Awards. Next slide, please. Here you can see the milestone process in full, together with the timeframes for completion of each stage as part of this first cohort. Members wishing to take part are required to register with us no later than Friday, the 31st of December, though we are seeking to allocate the majority of spaces and sign all the membership agreements by mid-December. Members will pay an annual fee to be part of Green Economy North. Annual membership fees are calculated based upon a matrix which we produced that accounts for both the total floor space area and square footage and of assets owned or leased by the church and the total number of employees employed by the organization. Green Economy North will require this information to produce formal quotes for membership. To fully benefit from the program, our members must commit some time in staff and resources, including access to data to determine your carbon footprint, access to facilities for the purposes of the energy walkthrough, staff engagement for training, action planning, and connecting with the network as a whole, and fee payment on an annual basis. The membership fees that we pay help to make sure that the program is sustainable in the long run. Next slide, please. Current grants available both federally and provincially, which could potentially be applied towards sustainability projects, tend to fall in one of the following 4 categories. Community-led energy efficiency or retrofit projects, such as publicly owned or not-for-profit assets. And there's various grant funding programs and streams available right now of all different eligibility criteria. There's also household energy efficiency programs, such as the Canada Greener Homes program. There's research and development type grants to support peer-based learning on a sector-specific basis. And there's technology readiness and adoption-based supports. So in addition, we at reThink Green and Green Economy Canada currently await the outcomes of a major funding application submitted. And if approved, this could result in the development of a micro-grant program, plus some other incentives to further support action among our members. But regardless of whether that funding application is approved, we know from our experience that members can make considerable savings by implementing projects that reduce their utility costs and associated emissions. Next slide, please. So I'd also like to take this opportunity to briefly mention our Smart Green Communities program, which was born out of a 2-year research study funded by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and the Independent Electricity Systems Operator, among others. Producing 2 regional energy and emissions plans for Manitoulin Island and the North Shore, our team engaged with municipal and First Nation leaders, businesses, community organizations, voluntary associations, and the general public to determine the risks and effects of climate change. The plans resulted in the development of baseline energy and emissions inventories for 25 communities. Next slide, please. Greenhouse gas emissions data we collected was entered into climate modeling software. Unfortunately, this presented us with a bleak view of the future. Should a business as usual approach continue? From this, we now know that the predicted effects of climate change in Northern Ontario include an annual estimated average increase in temperature of between 3 to 4 degrees Celsius by 2050. This would result in more unpredictable and extreme weather patterns. Next slide, please. Those predicted effects include warmer winters characterized by severe ice storms, ice melting, refreezing, and ice damming, resulting in more accidents and damage to property and infrastructure. And less predictable summers, increased flooding and erosion leading to eutrophication, diminished water quality, vector-borne diseases, increased heat waves leading to droughts, and a heightened demand for cooling systems, which could cause energy blackouts. Next slide, please. Now the studies are complete, we continue to recruit municipalities, townships, and First Nations into the Smart Green Communities program, which is modeled on the Green Economy North program and follows the same milestone process that I outlined earlier. This will enable communities to delve deeper and address some of the more specific challenges within their jurisdictions, whether it's nature-based solutions or interventions at the building specific scale. We are also equipped to provide fee-for-service options to assist with broader strategic and transformational projects at the community level. There have been a series of recent announcements regarding new funding streams to help communities mitigate and adapt to our changing climate. And these include the renewal and upgrade of community assets. Next slide, please. So to summarize, members of our programs quickly learn that becoming more sustainable not only means greater efficiencies, enhanced resilience, and reduced waste and emissions, but also decreased costs in the medium to longer term. We will be delighted to discuss how reThink Green can support your church and community in furthering its sustainability goals and objectives. Next slide, please. This slide concludes my presentation for today. And on it, you'll see my contact information and social media domains if you'd like to engage with us. So thank you also to Melody and the United Church of Canada for allowing us the opportunity to speak today. And I'll now hand back to Melody and Judy of the Trinity United Church, Capriol, who is actually one of our members of the Green Economy North program. And I look forward to the breakout sessions.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Simon. And just a word, Simon was talking about how reThink Green started in 2016, started here in Sudbury, and we started getting connected together with local United Churches in Sudbury pretty much, I think, 2016, 2017. And Trinity Capriol was one of those early adopters. What's really lovely about this program, there is a membership fee, so I want to make sure that people understand what that is about, but it's like a co-op, so that when the congregation says, yes, we want to belong, you're joining into a whole network that is national network in many ways. And this is the group of expertise that we don't necessarily always have in our pews. It's a group of people that are able to analyze data, that are able to take a look at energy usage benchmarks to help project manage, to look at where federal, provincial grants might be. And so this is something that the United Church of Canada obviously supports, and historically, prior to the restructuring, Manitou Conference supported very strongly. So we've always worked with congregations to support their membership in reThink Green, and we do that financially. And we have a member of the chair of our grants team is here tonight, and so this might be something that, if this is something that interests you, interests your congregation, and you want to learn more about that, I would encourage that partnership conversation with the region. And so I'm going to turn it over to Judy so she can share her experience. And you've been one of those people that have been the cheerleader. You've been a leader in your congregation, and you were one of those people to jump right on to this project. So Judy, why don't you share with us what that's been like?
Thank you, Melody. As a person, I've long been active in supporting Mother Earth in all the ways that I can. Picking up litter, biking where possible instead of driving, recycling the bath water for the laundry washing cycle, and the reverse osmosis effluent for the rinse cycle, and for garden watering in dry years when my rain barrels are dry. I have a siphon which does all this. It's really good to belong to a church which supports my environmental passion and makes me know I'm not alone. And it was through my church that I connected with reThink Green, which is an organization which gives power to my passion. Trinity Capriel has been a member of Green Economy North for many years, since the beginning, I guess. They give us information, encouragement, and practical help. Several of us have attended business forums, lovely lunches at member hotels pre-COVID, where we've heard what our local businesses and other organizations are doing to reduce their environmental impact. Then we can discuss with knowledge what's possible for us. Lately, the business forums have been by Zoom, just as effective even without the lunch. I've learned about solar panels, insulation, even putting strong magnets on fuel lines. I'm not sure how much difference the magnets made on our natural gas fuel line at church, but my friend Dan tried it on the gas line in his car, and he said it gave him a huge saving, gasoline being a more dense fuel. Interesting. I heard about that at a business forum. We have also attended reThink Green Evenings of Recognition and celebrated what we and other churches, many from this area, and organizations in our community are doing to reduce their environmental footprints. It's always good to know we're not alone, but part of a big movement. reThink Green staff have visited our church annually, made measurements, and in their reports have suggested concrete ways to reduce our environmental impact, also save money. We've replaced light bulbs with LEDs, caulked and insulated windows and doors, installed ceiling fans, placed magnets on gas fuel lines. Chris from reThink Green even climbed ladders for me, as did some members of our congregation, to help me with putting up insulating plastic inside our big high windows. Not only did this keep out some winter wind, but it helped us realize that the windows really needed rebuilding, because we could see the plastic ballooning in from the winter wind. Next season, we hired a contractor to rebuild the windows, and it's made a big difference. I have to say that Trinity would not have spent this money without the visible proof that it was necessary. reThink Green understands that our church has limited financial resources and makes recommendations that are affordable. For instance, they're happy that we chose an insulated metal roof instead of replacing old shingles, but they don't tell us to rebuild all the 1957 uninsulated walls. That would be really too expensive. They also guide us toward funding sources from which we can apply for grant money. reThink Green makes us keep records of energy use over the years. Every year end, we send them our energy bill data. It's very, very useful to know at a glance how much energy we're using and how much our energy use changes as we make improvements. These records also help us detect problems. For instance, noticing a change in water consumption made us notice an expensive leaking toilet sooner rather than later. Being part of the reThink Green community makes me feel supported and gives me courage when I propose green improvements to my church. Not always an easy sell with folks who are watching the bottom line. Our big United Church really supports reducing environmental footprint, not only with words, but with grant money for viable projects. We received a big grant from the United Church years ago toward our new insulated metal roof. My immediate project is to have 10 kilowatts of new solar panels installed on our steep southwest facing insulated metal roof. Well, actually, I've been working on this project for many years. $33,000 is a hard sell to a cash-strapped congregation. This net metering project would supply almost all the energy we use in a year, clean solar instead of polluting nuclear. With encouragement from reThink Green, education of our Trinity community, and financial help from the United Church, that would be greening sacred spaces and faithful footprints, this may soon happen. Keeping my fingers crossed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Judy. One of the reasons why we invited Judy to join us this evening is because we wanted everyone to see the enthusiasm that she brings to and the passion. I think I wrote down in my note, passion, Judy. So I'm just going to stop before we go into breakout groups. We have a smallish group, and I'm just curious if people have any questions directly for either Simon or Judy, and maybe you have those now. Going to see if I can. There we go. Any questions people might? So George, you've got your thumb up there. Is that a hee-haw or is that a question?
I thought I put my hand up, but I must have hit the wrong button. Thanks. I just wanted to make a comment to what Judy just said about the solar stuff. St. John's United Church in Marathon spent $72,000 12 years ago and put a 10 megawatt system on the roof of the church. It realizes we took $72,000 that was invested making almost no money in the bank to realize a 13% profit annually or over the 20-year life of the project. It has been amazing that we've been able to do it. When our 20 years is up in 8 more years, we're going to do exactly what you're talking about and renegotiate with Ontario Hydro to go to net metering. Yeah. So don't feel as though it's a lost cause. This is significant what you're doing. And it is just an amazing, amazing thing. I'm one of the people who tracks our annual generation, and we average 10 megawatts annually. Yeah. Awesome.
That's fantastic.
Keep it up.
Yeah, and I don't want to add too much more fuel to the fire there because I didn't want to necessarily have a negative impression with the presentation. Hopefully I was, the solutions really come as being a part of the member. It's that exploratory process because we know that every building is different. They all require different solutions. I couldn't say to you all now, go out and buy an air source heat pump or get solar, It's absolutely dependent. Where's the roof pitch? Like, where's the suppliers and contractors? All these factors that need to be considered. So, and Judy made that point about the walls and saying not to rip those out. I mean, there's this term that's coming even more into the fore now of embodied energy. That when a building has been produced like that already, it has like an R value established, but there's been so much carbon expended in the production process to get to that stage. What we have in terms of climate science is this almost like a residual capacity. There's so much greenhouse gases already in the atmosphere, but the effects of those are not quite yet being felt. So really, as we shift more towards kind of a circular economy, about how we like reclaim, reuse, repurpose materials. You can see a lot more of that coming down the line as well. So it's complicated, it's hard to explain sometimes, but by being part of these forums that we offer and these educational opportunities, you learn as you go, and that's the whole premise of it, really.
Yeah. And one of the gifts of you know, we talk about when we're in the United Church, we do better when we do it together. And I think that's one of the true gifts of connecting in with such a great community partner. I remember even just the energy audits, the walkthroughs with that level of professionalism. That's really important when you have folks that are able to be there as engineers that can see. I remember when Coppercliff United Church joined in, and it wasn't until they did the energy walkthrough that they realized that there was a massive hole in the actual wall close to the top of the roof where they had an exhaust for the old pump organ. They replaced the organ, but they didn't close the hole in the roof. And it wasn't until I think it was Chris that did the walkthrough, and they discovered that this was a very easy fix, and it made a huge impact. Likewise, that, you know, talking about that running toilet, there's been other congregations that have discovered within their building plan these small fixes that make a big impact. So, I mean, I think it's one of those things that developing relationships with our community partners is really a benefit for everyone. Curious if there's any other questions after Simon's conversation, after Judy's presentation, any specific questions for them? Yeah, go ahead, Rebecca.
Since we're sharing anecdotes, I was going to share one, and I don't remember which church it was, but there was one where we were looking at the minister's office and noticing that it was open to the rest of the church. So it was a 4 walls but no ceiling. We're thinking, okay, well, maybe we could just put a ceiling on this room, and then we could just heat the room instead of the whole church. And that seemed like a good idea. Then we actually had a conversation with the minister, and they're like, I never use this office. I'm only ever here on Sundays. So I don't know why you're heating it at all, because I'm not even here. So that was a situation where just doing this sort of thinking about things provoked a conversation that meant that they could just keep the church at sort of a let's not freeze the pipes kind of temperature, not because there was nobody actually working in there during the week. So that was a no cost solution that really had a big impact.
That was Gabriel.
Was that Gabriel?
That was Gabriel.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not anymore. We need the heat.
Yeah. We're going to turn the conversation over to you now. And we have some questions we prepared for some breakout conversation. We've got 3 questions, and I'll just share them here in the plenary group, and then we're going to breakout groups. And Sue is going to put these questions in the chat. And I think, how many people are in this group? Susan, can you tell? There's 14. So if we do, let's say we do 4 groups. In each group, there's going to be a facilitator. So someone from reThink Green or myself will be part of each of these conversations, just so that we can keep things moving. We're going to spend about 15 minutes in breakout time. And we want you to engage with these 3 questions. What are the challenges your congregation has faced in recent years, whether that's from building maintenance or energy efficiency or sustainability? And the next question we'll talk about is, what energy saving measures have you introduced? And how have those benefited the church, socially, economically, or environmentally? And then finally, what are your current priorities, goals, or targets? And how might these further reduce emissions and decrease costs? So Sue, would you mind putting those questions into the chat? Thank you so much. And folks who are facilitating, if you could just copy those so that we can make sure we are able to bring them with us into the breakout group. Oh, come on. And I'll trust Sue to send us on our way shortly. Welcome back, everyone. I just need to hear her because Pam was literally mid-story. So Pam, can you, like, for the benefit
Apologies.
of everybody, please just finish the, like, just give
You
us
bet.
the 1986 trailer.
Yes.
powered by solar panels.
So it was it's a council that is slowly shifting, and Judy, I'm talking about our council.
Yes.
Slowly shifting
Yes.
gears with respect to buying into solar. And it was one of our council persons who had like a 1986 trailer. They went camping this summer, and they got some little solar panels for their trailer. And they found out, to her astonishment, that they had power for the entire summer for this trailer, for all of the things that they required. Well, it was that change that she brought to the meeting, and it was a good news story. It was her testimony to say, Judy, I think maybe you're onto something here. So sometimes you got to learn the hard way, and you find out, yeah.
That did
That's my
help.
story.
Yeah, there's so many different products coming on the market now, these kind of portable units and systems, modular type setups, that it's and the cost is just coming down all the time with them as well. That we were just saying in our conversation just then that during COVID, for the first time ever, the dollar value of oil went negative. So all of a sudden oil became a liability rather than an asset. Almost like at that point, the system pivoted. Now there's definite value to be attached to renewable technologies, both in terms of investments, in terms of that return investment as a property owner. So yeah, it's a scary but exciting time.
So we've had some conversations in smaller groups talking about some of the challenges and some of the successes, and perhaps some of the goals, some of the things that you're thinking about for the future. Within those groups, were there any surprises, anything notable that the people feel really that people need to know about?
Okay, well,
Go ahead, Rebecca.
Maybe one from our group. We started talking about a manse and how that would maybe relate to who pays electricity and who's responsible for what, and whether that because it's in some cases is a standalone residence, it would qualify for some of the home retrofit programs that are currently kicking around, and that might be a way to really increase the efficiency of that building instead of solely focusing on, I mean, of course you want to focus on the church as well, but if there is a manse in the picture, getting a home energy program for that building.
That's right, Susan Peverly, you're in a manse.
Yeah,
remember. That's something to keep an eye on.
I don't know how common that is, but
it's
but yeah.
less and less so. But I think it is wise. I know that back in the day when I was in pastoral ministry and I only lived in manses, we always felt blessed to have that one or two guys that kind of knew and were kind of passionate. Sometimes they were folks like Mary Alice who were looking at the budget line saying we can do better, and that in itself is a pretty good incentive. In our group, we heard from George, who was talking about the solar panel he mentioned at St. John's in Marathon, and they are seeing $8,000 a year in return in revenue. And I think there's similar stories in different areas around our region, places like Powassan, in Little Current, Espanola. One of the older projects was right here in Sudbury, in Coniston, and that was through Sudbury Hydro. And Les Liskey was part of that. If folks know him, he's pretty passionate about this as well. And I think he's connected with reThink Green in some capacities as well. So there are ways that you can work possibly with your local utilities group, definitely with Ontario Power Generation, in order to look at how to connect into some of these energy savings and cost savings. Any other surprises, anything that people want to share that they learned?
Well, Gordon was talking about his position there, kind of overseeing some of the major capital projects that go on or a value of $75,000 in the churches. And maybe he was questioning, he might have had his own answer to this, but really, the impact of the building code as it stands right now, and how that relates to and what challenges that brings about. And there's definitely conversations to be had there, but obviously it's provincial, it's legislation, it needs to be reconsidered and thought about. But we do, going forward, need much greater, more flexible approach to both planning and building to help reduce the bureaucracies and have more creative solutions, so we're all working towards the same goals. So that was really interesting for him to bring that up front and center, I'd say. And Judy obviously just showered us with all of the wonderful projects she's doing.
Thank you.
And I have to admit, I'm just keeping an eye around the corner from where I live is the reconstruction of Grace United. Folks may remember that Grace United burned down in 2019, and they are just like tasting the completion of this project. It's getting there. They're hoping that by December of this year, they might actually be inside a building. And so I'll be interested to track some of the energy usage, because they are, one of the only, they'll have the newest building. They'll be, as we said, Sue, the baby in the region. So it'll be interesting because part of their rebuild, they had to come up to municipal or provincial codes in terms of energy usage. So it'll be something to watch for sure, what their cost savings are going forward. Well, we had a further question for you, and this is a final question, and so you can chip in where you want to. And my question to you is what support are you looking for? What is the support you need to realize some of these goals that you have happening within your congregation, within your church, around your energy sustainability? What are some of the things you need to do that? And I'll ask that again. What supports do you need? And then we can see each other, hopefully, Sue. Yeah, great. What are the supports you need? Yeah, George. Yeah, George got his hand raised.
I think one of the things you need is someone within your congregation who can take the lead. Like we all need a Judy. You need someone who is the mover and the shaker, the one who can keep that idea alive and going, even in the face of all the doubt and the worry about, oh my God, it's going to cost us so much money. Someone who can be that driving force. And I think without that people, those kind of people within our congregations, it's much harder to cause some of these things to happen.
And as that person, I'd like to say that the support I get from the big United Church is huge, because obviously my church believes in what I'm trying to do here, because they have grants available that I can apply for. And that makes a difference to my congregation, because they say, hey, somebody else thinks this is important, not just Judy. And that has helped a huge amount, plus the trailer that Pam mentioned. Yeah.
And that's what Rebecca just commented, is having a champion is so important, whether you're a small business, whether you're a nonprofit, whether you're a church organization, having that person that can track and can keep that on the agenda to keep that passion alive is so important. Judy mentioned those grants, and I'm we're getting close to the point in time where I'm going to mention those grants. I have to be truthful. I totally forgot to make a slide with United Church church modernization grant and church capital assistance loans. But we do have our grants team lead here tonight as well. And the United Church of Canada supports building projects with congregations of modest means, and will support up to $5,000 in matching grants, as well as low interest loans for projects that exceed $10,000. So these are programs that are accessible. I think when I look at the finances, there's probably in all of our region, maybe only I'm going to say 5 congregations that don't qualify for this. I think the vast majority qualifies for as churches of modest means. So so these are programs that are available, and I'm always happy to share information and to talk directly to your leadership about those specific grants. Any other things that people are mentioning that are thinking, well, I need some help in? What would that support be for you?
I'm just wondering about, and this may be a conference thing too, I mean, a regional thing too. A call out to the churches to get back in step with their green stuff if they're not in it, and what kind of things can be they can look forward to, or refer them to reThink Green, and to maybe have this video available, or however you want to do that. I think sometimes we need a reminder, and I know right now we're busy with stewardship things, and we've had some green things going on, and promoted that in our hullabaloo, which was a kind of what we did, kind of a show, and everybody was showing off their stuff and why we did things, and so forth. So I think it's time for that to happen, because I think sometimes we get, COVID has kind of dampened our certainly our ability to be together, but perhaps now is a time to kind of jack it up a bit and get people realizing the church is still busy doing stuff, and all these things are still in place to access, and people are available, and maybe ask them what you need as well. So that, I think that would be a good step for our region anyway.
And what's interesting, just even coming out of the summer, when we noticed fires and climate change is more and more on our doorstep, and of course tonight we have folks here that are from Northwestern Ontario that have experienced climate refugees, and we see that too in Northern Ontario, in areas like Timmins, where people are having to leave their homes because of climate change. And this is more and more on our doorsteps. It's something that collectively we need to be about. And what I found interesting this summer, there was a summer summer student project between Canadian Shield and Shining Waters, and there were 15 young people that engaged in all kinds of different areas of consideration between faith and public life, and what their faith meant to them, and looking at theology and different projects. And one of the really interesting projects was around anxiety, climate anxiety. And this is something that our modern society can fall into a sense of distress and psychological distress.
Yeah.
And we as a Christian community are a people of hope. So how are we witnessing to our community? How are we witnessing to ourselves about the steps that we can take to mitigate climate change, that we can make changes that are visible and that are able to be witnessing to the wider community? And that's something that George also said, people look to his church to see what they're doing as a sign of hope and positive change. So with that, I wanted to share just very briefly some of the resources that are available to you. And again, these are just like a very few. And I just want to highlight a few of these things. Faith in the Common Good, you've heard us refer to this already. And we've got the URLs there, so you can see. And this actually was developed through, it's an ecumenical movement, interfaith movement in Canada. But if you remember, a certain moderator named Bill Phipps was one of the founders of Faith in the Common Good. And so it is still very, very active. And in fact, as we mentioned, reThink Green is part of the umbrella, the network of Faith in the Common Good. And so there are all kinds of resources available. And lately I've been engaging in social media. And so Faith in the Common Good has very, very active social media. In particular, during the season of creation, they've been doing all kinds of really fantastic educational programs, webinars, things that people can sign up for education. So I'd really, really recommend visiting Faith in the Common Good. And of course, Greening Sacred Spaces is their project, a sub-project of Faith in the Common Good, which also involves doing environmental self-audits or walkthroughs that just lay leaders can take a look at their building and say, what can we change here? So that's almost a first step in discovering what those, the low-hanging fruit of change might be in your congregation building. Pointing out too, for the love of creation is again a movement that is engaged theologically with climate change and renewing energy and renewing our love for creation. And folks in North Bay may be more familiar with this. The North Bay Mission Committee, Mission Network, Mission Cluster, that's what they are now, North Bay Mission Cluster, has been doing very intentional engagement with for the love of creation, and has been doing engaged with some of the webinars. And so and just 2 weeks ago, the region made a financial grant to the North Bay Mission Cluster, so they continue to do this kind of educational work. And of course, you've heard a few folks mention the Season of Creation, which is an international theological movement of liturgy, of worship, which is a wonderful time to keep this on people's radar. And I know I'm probably dating myself here. I'm only 1 year behind Sue in graduating. But when I went to seminary, we didn't talk about this stuff very much. And Season of Creation was not at all a thing. It wasn't a thing at all. And so for many of our congregations, it may not be a thing yet. And if you're interested in taking a look, these are resources, worship resources, study resources, there's sermon resources. And this is a way of integrating our faith. When we say we live with respect in creation, this is a way of integrating our faith and our practice together. So I'll commend those resources to you. The next slide. So these are two areas that the United Church of Canada, obviously, when we have it in our creed, as I've mentioned, that we live with respect in creation. And so I'll just mention that climate change worship page and a climate change action page. So if you're looking for specific concrete actions to engage people in, there is a huge list. And coming up on October the 17th, which is the Sunday following our general meeting, is World Food Day. And so there's all kinds of actions and worship related to World Food Day and food security and how it relates to climate change. So that might be of interest, and I'll do that little plug again. There is a full mission and service worship and sermon provided for October the 17th. So those leaders who are engaged with our annual meeting, you don't need to lose any sleep on Saturday. You can wake up and have everything finished and it'll be ready to go for World Food Sunday. And I really want to draw attention to Faithful Footprints. This was launched in 2018. And I remember the launch because it was in Oshawa at our last in-person General Council that this was launched. And this is a project between Faith in the Common Good and the United Church of Canada. And Faithful Footprints is, so Susan is asking, that is already available. There's been an email sent to you from Mission and Service, hopefully. You've seen it. If not, take a look on the United Church of Canada webpage. And if you look under either, just punch in World Food Sunday and you should be able to find all the resources. I know it's done. Trish Elliott did it. So if you like Trish's writing from Broadview, then you'll like this service. Anyway, Faithful Footprints, project between a partnership between Faith in the Common Good and the United Church of Canada. And this is our program to support your decreasing of the carbon footprint. So just because we're coming close to time, I want to make sure that you see the video that sort of encapsulates the program of Faithful Footprints. Sue is going to run that video. Yes, maybe Sue, please. Yay. So.
Across the planet, the climate crisis is growing. It's a pressing issue that requires urgent action. The hopeful news? We can see the shift towards a low carbon future starting to happen. The United Church of Canada is committing to reducing our carbon emissions by 80% by 2050, in line with the Paris climate targets. We're partnering with Faith in the Common Good to launch Faithful Footprints, providing tools and grants that support congregations to meet that target. The energy used to light and heat United Church buildings is one of our largest sources of carbon emissions, and it's also one of our biggest expenses. So our first focus will be to engage with 500 congregations by 2025 to improve the energy efficiency of their buildings and to share lessons they can take into their homes and workplaces.
Through doing a whole building energy audit, we've realized how much we are just polluting unnecessarily in ways that we can save not only money, but to cut down our carbon dioxide emissions.
The income from the solar system would pay for the solar installation itself in 8 years, and over the remaining 25 years of their loan would pay for the new steel roofs that they installed and the repairs to the eaves. The solar income really adds to the bank account of the church.
We recognize that to bring truly inspiring climate leadership to our communities, we must first put our own house in order. Together, we can renew our congregations, care for the planet, save money, and stop climate pollution. Faithful Footprints is about living our climate commitments for future generations and for all of creation. Find out more and get your congregation involved at faithfulfootprints.org.
Thanks so much, Sue. And just a word about Faithful Footprints, just to describe it a little bit more. If you visit the website, faithfulfootprints.org, it's a separate website from the United Church of Canada, although there are links. If you go to the climate action page, you'll see it. And this organization provides ideas, tools, and grants to help the United Church, individual United Church congregations reduce carbon pollution. In its first 2 years, Faithful Footprints has helped 148 United Church communities of faith reduce their carbon emissions, freeing up thousands of dollars for enhanced community mission rather than paying for energy bills. With many churches holding reduced in-person worship and activities because of the pandemic, this could be the opportune time, especially if we're coming back into our churches. This might be the time for folks in leadership to start thinking about your greening efforts. And so as you're catching up on that deferred maintenance, you may want to integrate an energy audit into your program. If you take a look at the Faithful Footprints Sustainability Report, it tells the story of St. Paul's United in Magog, Quebec, and others that have benefited from the program. So you get to hear from firsthand. And if you're interested in hearing from folks within our region, I'm thinking, Mary Alice, you're still here? Mary Alice still here? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Trinity Manitoulin was a successful recipient of a Faithful Footprints grant.
I'm not sure if that's where it came from or not, but we
got accessibility funding.
Yeah.
But there was, I'm pretty sure that Marion put in for Faithful Footprints, I think around I think there was a furnace.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure where, but we got a grant for a lot of that. Yes.
Yeah. It was from Faithful Footprints.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Faithful Footprints has tiered grants, and they can be in excess of $30,000. So, I mean, depending on the scope of the project they're engaged with, and so there's sort of a do-it-yourself kind of grant application, and then for bigger projects, you're working directly with staff at Faithful Footprints to develop the plan for that. The thing is, with any of the Faithful Footprints as an incentive, they require the applying congregation to have a professional energy audit complete. And what's fantastic is that that's one of the services that reThink Green provides to its membership. And that's one of the reasons why I'm always kind of saying, look at, if for no other reason, to get that energy audit and to do so in a cost-effective way, you know, within a cooperative situation, you know, working with others, learning from others. I think that this is a wonderful opportunity for partnership building. So we're coming to a close now, and I think Sue flashed up on the screen my contact information, but I'm kind of looking around and I'm pretty sure every single person in this room can find me and knows where I live, pretty much. You can chase me down if you need any more information about any of these programs. I'd be happy to work with your leadership to support these projects. So just as we close, wondering if you have any further questions, any wonderings that you'd like to ask?
I'd just like to say to everybody, don't be frightened to reach out if you have any questions, would like to learn more about it. I can share some information with Melody that maybe she can circulate in the networks, a little bit more food for thought about what we offer. But you know, we'd love to be there to support you, but if not, we respect that too. And like, we really hope that you take whatever actions you can at the household, at the property level, we're all part of this. So I wish you all the best of success.
Maybe also just to add to that, I know not all of you are in the Sudbury area. We are looking to expand, and the timeline of that will be either very soon or as soon as we can. So for those of you who are not from Sudbury, stay tuned for details. We'll really try to serve really anyone in Northern Ontario to the best of our ability.
And I think in our conversations, Rebecca, you had mentioned too that reThink Green, we've got Simon's contact information, even just a phone call for consultation. To network and to say, hey, what resources are available where you are. This is a really good opportunity to reach out and ask people who know what they're doing. You could ask me, but I went to theological college. I didn't go into I'd just be calling Rebecca and Simon anyway.
Yes, we'd be happy to hear from anybody with questions, for sure.
Yeah. So I'll do one more time. Any questions for folks? Well, with that, I want to say a huge thank you. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you to Simon and to Judy for sharing her passion. Thank you to all of you, because all of you spoke too. Thank you for sharing your experiences, for asking your questions, and for being part of these conversations. They are important, vital conversations. They are necessary to who we are in this time and place. This is part of what God is calling us to, and we affirm that part of our faith, that we live with respect and creation. So I want to say thank you, and I'd like to offer a blessing as we leave. I'm just calling it up here. And so from this time, may we go in the power of the Holy Spirit and go forth into God's world to fulfill our calling as the people of God, the body of Christ. For we are the church called to live in respect with creation. And so may we be blessed with joy and love, with clarity of vision and strength of purpose, now and always. Amen. Thank you, folks. It was lovely to see you. I may see some of you tomorrow night, because we just can't get enough of each other. And I may see some people at our regional town hall on October the 7th at 7 o'clock. So looking forward to that. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks.